Well, Bali is all set to host the G20 summit, and it is an important moment for India, given that India will be handed over the presidency of the grouping, and India hosts the summit next year. With me is the Sherpa of India, Amitabh Kant. So, welcome to WION here in Bali. And my
Thank
first
you.
and obvious question is what will be the overarching message for India during this year's G20 summit, the summit which is going to start very soon? And of course, you have been engaged in intensive conversations as well with your counterparts.
So the Prime Minister is very clear that there is there are geopolitical tensions. You've seen the Sustainable Development Goals falling behind instead of progressing. You've seen the global supply chains are very disrupted. There are huge challenges of global debt. There is an issue of climate change. Many crises in the world. The world is in the midst of chaos and turmoil. And therefore, the Prime Minister has announced India's theme as One Earth, One Family, One Future. And that is that everyone is a part of one single cosmos, one single cosmic web. We all emerge from there, and therefore we have to live together. We have to sort out our challenges. We have to, there is huge unity in diversity of man, there's unity in diversity of political thought, there's unity in diversity of geographical existence, there's unity and diversity of economic models, but we are all one in the end. And therefore, it's important that all of us work for the common good and for the common citizens of the world. That is the message which India sends from its ancient civilization, the message of Vasudev Kutumbakam, that we are one family.
So you have been engaged in conversations with your counterparts for 3 days now. The Sherpa meeting, the fourth Sherpa meeting is underway. How difficult the conversation this time has been, given that there is this backdrop of Russia-Ukraine conflict, and there is a looming sense of Cold War between the West and the Russians. So, do you see that impacting the conversation? And will there be a ministerial document, the document of the head of the governments who are meeting here? Are you hopeful that this will come out this time?
No, the negotiations have been very tough. They've been very intense. They've been, the challenge with G20 is that it's a consensus making body. The difference between United Nations, G7 and G20 broadly is that UN is too large a body. It's a body of 186 members. You can do voting there. G7 is too rich, too elitist a body. G20 comprises of both the developed and the developing world. But the important thing is that it works out of consensus, and once it decides to work on a consensus, then it is able to drive certain action. And it has done this in the past. It has got the world out of financial crisis. It has got the world to manage global debt. It has done. It has created the FSB, the Financial Stability Board. It has taken action during the COVID, and this is one body which is capable of taking action on behalf of the world. And the objective here is to get everyone around to a consensus to drive growth, to drive progress, to drive financial inclusion.
This time around, the Russian president is not participating, and of course, the Russian delegation is represented by the foreign minister Sergei Lavrov. Now, how do you see this development as, and how do you see the Western stance during the conversation you're having here at G20?
See, all the Sherpas are negotiating for the last 3 days. There's been separate discussions in the finance track, which then comes into the Sherpa track. The challenge has been to bring cohesiveness, bring unity of thought, bring everybody together. We've managed to do it so far, and we are very hopeful that we'll be able to do this. We'll come out with a good communique, which the leaders will then be able to announce and sign and take it forward. That's the objective, that's the intention. We are all working together to make this achieved.
Sir, India takes over the presidency. We're going to host the summit in September. What are the preparations like when it comes to the Indian presidency starting in a few weeks from now?
So we'll take over the presidency on 1st of December. The first meeting will be the Sherpa meeting in Udaipur on 4th, 5th, and 6th. We are doing G20 in over 55 cities, over 200 plus meetings. It's a very, very large canvas. Every state is a part of it. We are demonstrating that we are a great country with a very vibrant federalism. The Prime Minister wants every state, every union territory to be a very key player in this. And therefore, we are very well prepared. We are very thorough with whatever we've done. We'll try and bring a great Indian experience. We'll bring together not only the content part of it, the political will part of it, but also we'll bring Indian culture, Indian cuisine, Indian heritage, all that live with the G20.
So perhaps a moment for India to project its rise in power. Will India use the G20 as a platform for that?
Well, I would say we'll push for both a hard and soft power, because one is India is the 5th largest economy in the world. It'll soon go on to become the 3rd largest economy in the world. More than that, it has done truly path-breaking work in digital transformation. It has done some phenomenal work in terms of infrastructure creation. Our digital payments are 7x of US and EU. They are 3x of what China does. We've built over 55,000 kilometers of road in the last 7 years, which is like creating half of Europe. We've done over close to about 30 million houses, which is like creating a house for every single Australian. We've provided 81 million water connections, which is like providing water connection to every Brazilian. We've looked at what we've done in terms of vaccination. We've done 2.5 billion vaccination, which is 7 times the population of the United States of America and 5 times the population of Europe. So we've done some remarkable things. This is also an opportunity to push the Indian narrative in terms of many other areas, including health, digital transformation, and many of these areas where we can not only talk about the world, but also the story of India.
And will you try to bring the warring factions, that's West and Russia, together, given the fact that the Prime Minister mentioned that earlier this month that India takes over presidency at a time when there is a lot of chaos, there are war clouds as well. So will India bridge the gap between Western capitals and, of course, Moscow?
Yeah. That's a must. Given the fact that this G20 works by consensus, our success and our ability lies in bringing everyone together. So our job will be to be an honest broker between everybody, do the balancing act on every single issue, and ensure consensus on all issues. It's a consensus-based organization, and therefore bringing everybody together, demonstrating patience, demonstrating the will to work with everyone will be the key task.
And how hopeful you are that President Putin will attend the Indian summit that will happen in the month of September?
No, we are very hopeful. Next year, September is quite some distance. We are hopeful that every single leader in the world will participate in our G20. It'll be a unique occasion. We are not tilted towards any side. We believe in keeping equidistance from everyone. We believe it's in our national interest to work with everyone. We are equally close to everyone. So we'll try and bring everyone together as far as India is concerned.
So my last question to you is, how has G20 been a grouping essentially of today's world? Because UN is seen very dysfunctional. It is seen as a world of 1940s, and how perhaps G20 is seen replacing the United Nations?
So UN is a very unwieldy body. G20, it's important to understand, comprises of both the developed world and, more important, it comprises the emerging world, whose GDP is growing faster than the developed world. The expansion is taking place from the emerging markets. The developed world is stagnant. Today, you can't solve a crisis without the emerging markets. So when there was an Asian crisis, G7 was expanded into G20. Then there was a Mexican peso crisis. There was a Russian currency crisis. All these crises made the G7 realize that you need the emerging markets together. So, if you want to solve today's vast number of crises, the crisis of SDGs, the crisis of climate action, the crisis of global debt, the crisis of ensuring adequate food, fuel, fertilizer for everyone, there's no other body other than the G20 which can find a solution to these global challenges of the world of today.
Well, thank you so much, sir, for speaking to WION. And I know it's a hectic conversation which is going on at this very hotel where, of course, the G20 Sherpas meeting is underway. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, with video journalist Sidhant Sibal for WION in Bali.